One-party consent recordings, the kryptonite of asshole supervisors. I'm a paramedic, and after many years of working regular ground ambulance, I decided I had enough. My whole career I was either a glorified Uber driver, being spit on by drunks, bit by meth heads, or chauffeuring people between hospitals. Though once in a blue moon I saved a life. There isn't a lot of different jobs you can parlay an M's career into, so I elected to move into the private sector and got a job doing basically the same thing at a mine in a remote environment. Worked 2 weeks straight with 2 weeks off. Less stress and an enviable salary. On the surface this was a sweet gig. Almost heaven compared to the regular stretcher jockey job I came from, and it would have been such if not for the absolute psychopath who managed the M services out there. I didn't work directly from the mine's operator. Instead, I was employed by a contractor. The coordinator, my local boss, as he was called, was a golden boy as far as the mine co. was concerned. There wasn't an ass he didn't kiss or big wig he wouldn't suck up to, and I admit he could be charming. Quite adept at impersonating a human being actually. It wasn't long before I discovered he reserved decency for everyone but his subordinates. His behavior started out as petty micromanaging, which was irritating, but then progressed to insults, put-downs, name-calling. "Hey dumbass," was his usual way to get my attention, and outright hostility. The man clearly enjoyed being a small-time workplace despot and knew he could get away with it because of his reputation with our paymasters. It was around the 2-month mark before I really warmed up to my coworkers. There were 8 of us, including myself and the dipshit in chief, and not single one of them spoke a nice word about him. Most were resigned to him acting like a massive cunt because the 2-week holiday every month along with the pay rate. They also told me every complaint only fell on deaf ears, provoked retaliation, and again his relationship with the client made him nigh untouchable. This is when I started recording everything, and did so with these 2 assumptions. 1. The company would only act with serious proof of malfeasance. 2. His acts of bastardry would only escalate. Neither assumption proved false. I had nearly 3 months of audio tapes of him being Jewett his regular asshole self before he went too far. About a week into the shift, I showed up to our station and was called into his office only to be informed I was being let go and my replacement would be there in a few hours. I was to go back to our accommodations, pack my shit up, and report back there. Well, fuck, I thought before doing as I was bidden. Upon arriving back to the office with my suitcases, this sadist started laughing and said, "No one's coming to replace you. You're so fucking gullible." Quote. It was a mock firing, and I'm sure he feverishly jacked himself off to it later that night. I was livid and let loose on him, finally ending a tirade with a malicious hint. Can you imagine what the office would do if they could have heard all this bullshit? Quote. Unrepentant to the last, he coldly stared at me before replying, "Can you imagine what they would do if a bunch of empty beer cans turned up and I told the office I saw you drinking?" Quote. Having recorded all this and knowing my glorious victory was assured, I feigned capitulation to carry on with my day. My first day off, I sent in a detailed letter to the company along with recordings, and as expected, they fired his ass. What came after was righteous cackling laughter. For hours. I wonder, is this how Napoleon felt after winning at Austerlitz? TLDR. Recorded my supervisor threatening my job and creating a hostile work environment. Sent recordings to company and he was fired. I worked in the oil field, and one of my favorite incidents with the EMS team was when our camp served borscht. EMS had to service 3 camps and generally spent the day sitting in their vehicle between them. All of a sudden they started getting flooded with calls from people who had never eaten beets before. People were terrified about the blood in their urine and feces. So the EMS crew raced back to camp freaking out about this terrible disease going around. One of them told me he legit thought it might be Ebola. Oh man, I'm sure you would have loved to see him fired. Was there a policy that forbade you from recording anything? Some companies actually do that too. Well, you know. FIFO worker, and the use of the word cunt, so Australian? The culture in mining camps is notoriously toxic.
Wowza.
I guess Hit met his Waterloo. That's brilliance. I work in healthcare, so I know it is a thankless, exhausting, and just honestly soul-crushing job. But I just wanted to say that kind EMS personnel have been there in the most awful times in my life. And I may not remember their names or faces. But I still appreciate the kindness they showed me. I'm glad you're doing better. But please know that there are probably people out there who sincerely appreciated you.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.